Come here now, girl.
Hello and welcome to wxMap, your one-stop shop for everything workshop. I'm BonBonB and you're very, very welcome. Right, it's Tuesday. Tuesday's request day. Today's map is the longest waiting creator request map on the list, and it's a desert map. Yes, we've had a few desert maps of late, and this one is another pretty strong one. And I mean this, we have had some very strong, very interesting, and all very different desert maps. Today's one has one or two minor problems. They are only minor problems and easily overlooked if you know what you're doing. It's fine. It's fine. You know me, I just pick at things. See what happens when you pick at things. Now, I'm picking. I should really be quite easy because
it's my first map.
I know. I've got to go easy on people, but today's one does feel really very nice indeed for a firster. Anyway, before we get started, we always start the show with a daily reminder. That's right, clicking that like button to support the channel gets me seen by more people and helps me grow a little bit more every single day. Thank you for your support. Today's map is, I'm going to pronunciation right here, hopefully, Huachuca Desert. Huachuca Desert by wxManSmith. There's your top down. Here's your start square. I actually lost track of the start square on the flyover. I apologise. I'm a little bit tired. I'll talk about that in a minute, maybe. There's your terrain heights. Looks pretty playable. In fact, it has a 90-minute map attack feel to the design. That's not meant to be an insult in any way, shape or form. Resources, there you go. That's those. And then if you've got Sunset Harbour and wanted some fishing, we've actually got all of the fish on a desert map. That's actually quite surprising. Okay, off to the workshop. What do we need? Well, it's a park life map. You will need park life for this one. And then on top of that, there's a lot of trees. A lot of trees. Over 1 million trees on this desert map. Loads of life on it. Little shout out to me and the BonBon buddies on Discord. Thank you very much for that one. Then we have quite a longish list of things to subscribe to. Now, for me, if anything, there are obviously one or two things like Move It, which aren't strictly required. But, I mean, you probably got them anyway, probably. And loading screen mods, because you could be watching this in 3 years' time. There's an issue with loading screen at this time. I'm using the correct alternative, but I'm sure we'll be all switching to a new alternative at some point. Tree Anarchy today, I'm using the old Daylight Classic, Cube Map Replacer, Springwood theme, and Relight Average LUT. I think we've covered pretty much all of the boxes. Yes, Tree Anarchy because over 1 million trees, and I was getting quite a lot of frame rate drop because not only have I got the million trees, but of course I've got the settings turned right the way up. Feel free to turn the settings right the way down when you load up a map with 1 million trees on it, because you're doing it just for you. I'm trying to do it for all of you, and if I have the tree settings, you get all of the pop in, and it just, if anything, it's probably better just to have a little bit of a frame rate drop. So if we're not quite 60 frames per second, never mind, eh? Never mind. Now, we've got a few trees under the roads, which is fairly normal for a new map. A little bit of a wobbly bridge there as well. But again, we are right off towards the edge of the map. When I say a little bit wobbly, I think it was the left-hand side as we were looking at it was just a little bit bendy, whereas the one on the right, bridge on the right, was perfectly straight. Yeah, we've got a map here which has a lot of foliage. Remember, deserts aren't always just sand. They're just not. There's life even in most of the driest deserts. And I did a little drop down to this kind of area that we're based on here, and yeah, there's plenty of teeming life. Now, maybe. Oh, we can see a very nice splitting of the road in the moment. We're going either side of a little hill. Very, very polished. There's a lot of very polished work on the map. Yes, if anything, if anything, my big problem with this map is it's probably a little bit overdone in terms of the amount of foliage. That a million trees, I get if you're trying to recreate the thickest, densest forests, I get it. What we have here is a desert map. Now, you can still make it feel lush and full of vegetation in deserty areas, but with a less dense coverage. Now, to be fair, there is an area which we'll have a look at in the second half of the show, which is slightly less dense. You'll still see that there's a lot of foliage on it, but it's slightly sparser. And I applaud that sort of area was done. Obviously, it's not all about deserts. We've got a nice little green area down by the river here. I can't remember if this was the start square. I think the start square is... Oh, I don't remember. I completely lost track. We're not going to stop at the start square. At some point, I think it might be at this next bend. Not this bridge here, but this next bend coming up here. I think that is where the start square starts and finishes, in that sort of area up there. But whatever, we're going to be driving right the way through it. I think I was distracted by these pillars. And I know this is the sort of thing that you guys do in America. We go, well, what should we do? I know. Let's make a little feature of some giant pillars in the middle of the desert. Because you can. And why not? Tiny little bit of a terrain glitching through the road here, which could look a little bit like sand blowing onto the road. But we have got a little blue mantle there as well because of the way that it's glitching. So it's just a tiny, weeny little fail. Another tiny little fail, actually, is this little fence that runs alongside the highway. It just drifts a little bit away. And because everything's just a little bit slightly glitchy, just everything a little, just not quite on point, it looks a bit... If those highways were flush with ground level, then that fence pulling away from the road, you probably wouldn't notice. But because the road's just elevated just fractionally, it's very clear that it does drift. So it's a very subtle thing. A very subtle thing. Very close to being very nice indeed. Got a few very cute little water areas. I was going to come back to that one because we've got a little fake water flow with tunnels and stuff going on there as well. But we're not, because we're going to be tight on time. We've got some billboards as well. Billboards. Oh, and a nice little rest area down here as well, which is again, I mean, it's nice to see. Probably about the right amount of overdone. If you're going to overdo an area, why not make a feature area of it? And I would say we've definitely got a win here with a couple of little rest points and another billboard there as well. And so we carry on. And so we carry on. So yeah, so we've got highways, we've got rail. We'll jump across to the rail in a moment. Now, in terms of how polished is it? Because it looks pretty polished, doesn't it? You look at this guy, one or two trees under the road, BonBon. Yeah, it looks very polished to me. The highways look, yeah, I'd agree with a lot of what you have to say there. You may have noticed those power lines were a little bit droopy. There's the droopy power lines, which I only where the nodes have been pushed a little bit closer together. But we're not going back to look at those, so there's probably about 3 or 4 frames of this flyby. If you go back and look again, you go, I see what you're talking about there, Bob. It's not anything I'm that worried about. We've got other things to look at on this map. 1 or 2 more trees encroaching onto the road there. And I think at this point, yeah, there's not much more to see. So what we'll do is we'll jump across to the rail. The rail. Here's the rail. Do note over here we also have some more trees on that other bit of road. There are, and that's the old anarchy thing, the old anarchy settings, which I have set to show the trees that are on the underside of networks, so we can see how many there are and where they are. But it's not anything I think many of you are going to be that worried about. That leads off down to the start square. We're going to go the other route because it's slightly more convoluted. Why not? And it goes all the way across the map. This bridge feels a little bit non-centered to me. It's not a big problem, but I think if you were going to do a bridge there and then you're going to build a highway through it, you probably would have had it centered. I think if you're going to go to that effort, I think you would. Now you may notice the rail looks a little bit like it goes a little bit uppy-downy. It does look it. You can see though there is a certain amount of switchbacks with the rail to try and keep it sort of flat. See, like here, trying to run along the shapes of the terrain. How successful were they? Well, obviously there were definitely some points there that you could quite clearly make that it was going up and down. And here you may see that it's going a little bit up and down as well. But we will come and check this specific area in the second half of the show as well. And we'll just see just how well or how badly they did. Not that badly matters. We don't care. We're just here for the ride. Intermission time.
Are you fed up with random vanilla buildings spawning in random locations? Do you want a specific type of building in a particular zone? Then you need the beginner's guide to theme management. Click the information button below.
And so back to Huachuca Desert by Blackbird, by wxManSmith. I'm so tired. I just noticed I've done a typo. I'm going to correct the typo before you get to see it. No shipping routes. We have this air route, which is pretty nice if you want to do airports, because of airports. Why would you not want to do airports? The air route does like wave a little bit here and there, but I think it's going to be okay. Nobody's going to really notice. Water flow, I would suggest, given the amount of custom assets required anyway, probably best going with custom assets. It's a desert map. There's not a huge amount of water going through there. So yes, custom assets or DLC assets, whichever way you prefer to go. Now the overall aesthetics on the map is very strong. There's a lot of trees and foliage to make it very strong, and we've got some very neat little standards throughout, like this road going up into the mountains with all of these switchbacks. And look at this. I say this is good. I say this is very, very good. I mean, it might still be a little bit steeper than would normally be permitted, but I still think that is a win. And then we got the rail, which is probably less of a win, if I'm honest with you. If I'm honest, let's put those lines of terrain on. There you go. That's the steepness that we've got going on here. And you know how it looks like it's trying to follow the shape of the land? Well, it doesn't really. See how it's going down the hill there, and then back up the hill. I would suggest maybe some cuttings and tunnels and all sorts of things like that could have been put into operation, or just a different route completely. Farms, we have farming assets going on there, and they're being very nicely used. A few of you may not be big fans because that does restrict what you can do, but yeah, it's still a good effort and it looks pretty strong. Plenty of rock work on the map, including rocking and holing. Rocking and holing. One for the BonBonBingo players. Link is in the description, as always. And look how dense the foliage is. There you go. We're down the ground level for the first time, really. So look at the density of the foliage. That is where your million trees are. Let's come over here. In another extensively, beautifully worked rocky area. And this is slightly less dense. I did say there was areas which were slightly less dense, and here's one of them. Yeah, I still think there are going to be areas that we could be even less dense than that to save. It's experience. It's a first map. It's experience. With experience comes power and knowledge. Now over here we've got some sort of like camping area with are these barbecues? That's slightly glitchy bit of road there, by the way. Are these barbecues or something? Look at the amount of heat that we're pumping out to the... Nobody there to enjoy all these barbecues. Come on, guys. Switch your fuel off when you've finished cooking, will you? Anyway, I quite like this double lake thing. It's slightly fantastical, but I like it. And I think the work there's been... That's where your tuna is as well. Because tuna. And I think that's pretty neat. The water then gets a bit clunky. This last bit of river here just gets a bit clunky as it enters the sea, the ocean, the whatever we've got down here, or the big lake at the bottom. That last bit struggles a bit for me, but the bit before that was quite fun. 1 or 2 drowned trees, because it wouldn't be a first map without 1 or 2 drowned trees. And they're more paddling than drowned, so they don't need to have their trunks on. Anyway, let's take a look at this river. It's a little bit gloopy. These sort of rivers are very hard to do. And then we have a lot of trees in the river. These are drowned trees. I'm sorry. There's no excuse for this. There is no excuse for this at all. So yeah, we've got quite a few drowned trees. Loving the rock work though, and the mountain detailing. If you ignore the 1, 2 drowned trees, I'm going up this route because actually I think this is pretty close to exceptional. Even the spawn point location, which I would thought, I'm not going to like this, and that for me worked. And then beyond that, we've got like some little footpath switchback things. For me, I say bordering on exceptional, with just a few things holding it back here and there. And then over here, where was we coming over? No, it was over here. There we go. Wrong road. Right, I'm going to see if I can get the first-person camera to stick to the road. I've tried this a couple of times and it kind of like drifted into the air, because you know how sometimes networks can force networks and stuff. But yeah, I want to take this route for a specific reason. First of all, it's quite a nice pretty route, but also some decal work. You know, these road decals that you can put down to make roads look a little bit more realistic, signage and all that sort of thing. And there are going to be a couple in a moment that I think are interesting, to say the least. They've got a couple of street signs. Oh, now we're floating. We're floating. This isn't working. Anyway, they're telling us to slow down. 15 mile per hour or 15 kilometer per hour. Mile, isn't it? Because we're in America. 15 mile per hour speed. Yeah. And then as we come down here, you'll notice we have... trying to push the camera forward here. Some decals there. Slow. Slow, 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 slow. I think, given the precarious edge there and the steepness of that road, I think I prefer those decals to start much further up, personally. I don't want to suddenly see the road side slow. Oh, really? Oh, I thought that was like a fake warning sign telling me to go at 15. But yeah, please drive safely. I don't want to lose you before the end of the show. Speaking of before the end of the show, one last mini job to do. And it's a Cuban supermarket. Cuba WBS 84KH400 Nacional by MeisterMonis. Great looking thing this, and I was going to do factoids because factoids about this. And then I thought, no, factoids back because factoids about Huachuca, because that looked quite interesting as well. But then I just thought I'd say factoids because factoids. BonBon's really tired at the moment. BonBon's really struggling at the moment. And I just want to say, if you're watching through the week and there happens to not be a show on any particular day, I apologise in advance. There's a possibility I may fail this week to keep up with the schedule. I'm currently voicing this over at 1 AM on the day of release, and I have no show for tomorrow yet. I am reacting. A lot of this was down to the problems that I had on Sunday trying to record Monday's show, and it's put me way behind. That was the whole prop anarchy mod issues. But hey ho. Cuba WBS 84KH400 Nacional by MeisterMonis, today's asset of the day. But anyway, don't worry about me. Seriously, I'm fine. I'm just tired. Tired and struggling. And yeah, people say, just take a break. Yeah, I will if I have to. I will. Don't worry. It's not going to be something I will not do. But if I can maintain the daily schedule and stay on top of things, I'm going to. I'm committed. I am committed. What do you think of today's map? Come on. What do you think? Is it a 1-star map? Is it a 5-star map? Is it somewhere in between? Your vote really does count. We use it at the end of the month for the Viewers' Choice Top 10. Will this be one of the top 10 maps of the month? Only you can decide. Hit the I button now in the top right corner of your screen, or the link in the description will take you to the voting page where you can vote for free, which you should, because you should be committed too. Oh man, what do I think? I'm so tired, I'm going crazy. What do I think of today's map? Aesthetically, I like this. I think it's a good design. I think it, in most locations, looks really, really good indeed. I think there are 1 or 2 locations that bring it back a little bit. We've got just, it's almost exceptional. I'm going to go 4 stars. I'm going to go medium low 4 because there's just a little way to go. Detailing, we've got a lot of very good work here. Probably too much detailing, which is causing the map to suffer a little bit. I'm going to go 4 stars. I'm going to go bottom end. Gameplay potential. Again, it feels very playable to me. Pretty well playable. I'm going to go lowish 4. For reasons that I'm too tired to explain right now. Huachuca Desert by wxManSmith. But 4s, 4s and 4s on the first map is pretty good. I go seal of approval as well, I think, but I think we have overdone the number of trees and props and assets. The requirements on this map are way more than it absolutely needs to be. So with a little bit more experience and a little bit of love, I'm sure you will be a great creator because it shows there already. Anyway, speaking of love, use the words of the day in the comments to prove you're part of the 20 and out elite, and I'll hopefully be back tomorrow with another map in the What's Map series. Thanks for watching.